Hey guys, welcome back. I hope you are having an amazing day. Let's get right into the stories. The first one is an entitled People story. I've lived in my house near the woods for over 15 years now. It's nothing fancy, just a simple two-bedroom place, but I love it. The best part is the privacy. My property backs right up to a forested area, so no neighbors behind me. To the sides are just empty lots, so plenty of space. A few months ago, I noticed some construction starting on the lot to my left. Didn't think much of it at first. People are always buying the empty lots to build on. But as the building took shape, I realized it was practically on top of my property line. I went to talk to the construction crew and they told me the owner's name was Karen. I'd never met Karen before, so I walked over to her actual house that was on the other side of the lot to have a chat. The conversation went something like this. Me. Hi, are you Karen? Karen. Yes, what do you want? Rude from the start. Me. I'm your neighbor next door. Just wanted to ask about the building you have going up on the lot beside me. Karen. What about it? Me. Well, it seems to be very close to my property line. I'm just wondering if you did a survey to know exactly where the line is. Karen. Of course I did. Do you think I'm stupid? I know exactly where my property ends and yours begins. Me. Okay, no problem. Would you mind showing me the survey results so I can be sure too? Karen. Absolutely not. Why should I show you anything? Don't you trust me? Me. It's not about trust, really. It's just that the building looks so close, I want to be certain. Karen. Listen, I paid for that land, and I'll build wherever I want. If you have a problem with it, take it up with the city permit office, not me. She then slammed the door in my face. Charming woman. I decided to take her advice and went down to the permit office to inquire about requirements for building near property lines. They told me structures need to be at least 5 feet from lines, and suggested I file a complaint if I thought violations were occurring. Over the next few weeks, the building kept going up. I peered through the woods to get a better look, and it seemed awfully close. I measured from my house to the lot line, and it was only about 3 feet at most from the new building. Time to call in the city inspectors. They came out and determined the building was encroaching at least 2 feet onto my property based on the official plot maps. Not only that, but Karen never even applied for the proper permits in the first place. The inspector left Karen a letter explaining the violations and gave a deadline for her to either demolish the structure or submit a permit application with my permission to encroach on my land. Well, the deadline passed and nothing happened, so I followed up with the city again. This time they sent Karen a formal notice of violation and summoned her to an administrative hearing. I decided to attend the hearing to explain my side. As expected, Karen was extremely hostile when she saw me. Here are some highlights from the meeting. Karen. This is absolutely ridiculous. I measured carefully before building. Inspector. Our maps clearly show the structure on his property. Do you have documentation to prove otherwise? Karen. I don't need to show you anything. Don't you trust me? I see a pattern here. Inspector. Ma'am, without evidence, we have to go by the official records. Karen. Well, those records are wrong. I worked too hard to just tear down this building because of some insignificant violation. Me. Insignificant, it's on my land. Karen. Oh, please, it's just a few feet. Stop being so selfish. Me. If it's no big deal, then move it over a few feet onto your own property. But you don't get to take my land. Karen just glared at me angrily. The inspector reminded her that failure to comply could result in fines or a forced demolition. Karen then switched to trying to sweet-talk them into letting her keep the building as is. But the inspector held firm on following proper procedures. The final ruling was that she had 30 days to either tear down the structure or submit a permit with my permission. I knew there was no way I'd allow an encroachment permit, so looks like demo time. Over the next few weeks, I enjoyed watching Karen scramble to deal with the consequences of her own selfish actions. She tried to appeal the ruling, but it was quickly denied. As the deadline neared, demolition crews finally showed up. On the day they started tearing it down, I brought a lawn chair and snacks over to watch. Karen came storming over, yelling about me, gloating. I calmly said I was just making sure they removed every bit that was on my property. Eventually, Karen gave up and went inside, probably to complain on Facebook or something. The crews finished up and restored my land to its original wooded state. I happily went back to my quiet life without an illegal structure looming at the edge of my trees. This experience has given me incentive to check city records and install wildlife cameras to monitor all my property lines. Some people seem to think they're entitled to grab whatever land they want. Not on my watch. If Karen or anyone else tries to pull this again, I'll be even faster at reporting them. No more Mrs. Nice Neighbor. The next one is a pro-revenge story. So this happened to me a few years ago and I just wanted to share it here. And it is a long one. Senior year of high school, I was taking a plane to visit my grandma. The flight went from Baltimore to Pittsburgh, Pittsburgh to Vegas, then Vegas to Boise. The flight from Baltimore was almost empty and I was Southwest so could choose my own seat. And I was on the same plane until Vegas. I selected the last row of the plane by the window, put my earbuds in, and took a nap till Pittsburgh. When the plane landed, I went to the bathroom while people were getting onto the plane. To save my spot, I left my backpack in my seat and put my jacket on the seat and left. When I got back, I noticed that this pregnant lady sitting in my seat and her husband sitting in the aisle seat with my jacket thrown on the ground in the aisle with my backpack underneath with a laptop in it. Kind of annoyed, I pointed out that I was previously sitting in the window seat and I wanted to know if I could have my seat back. "Can't you see that I am pregnant and need this seat?" she said aggressively. Then I looked at the husband and asked if he could please scoot over and sit next to his wife. This guy looked me in the eyes and said, "Sorry, but we are allowed to choose our own seats," and I chose the aisle seat. Being a high school senior, I wasn't that big of a guy, but I was still not happy to be sitting in the center seat. Realizing that this was a losing argument, and I wasn't going to get any leverage over this lady, I decided to grit my teeth and bear it. I collect my stuff and move into the middle seat. The second. I sat down, the lady said, "You can't have your backpack in your seat. You're going to have to find a place to put it." "I'm just going to put it under my seat," I respond. "Where am I going to put my feet then?" she responds. "I don't know, not under my ducking seat." Growing up, I swore more than most people and really only watch what I say when at school. Suddenly, I feel someone grab my collar. The husband pulled me inches from his face and said, "Don't use that language to my wife or the baby. You will say you're sorry." I was shocked. Not only was this guy grabbing me in public, but at the time I was only 17 and still considered a minor. But not wanting to make a deal out of this, I gave the most half-assed "I'm sorry" to the woman and put my earbuds in as the flight was getting ready to take off. While taxiing, the lady kept trying to get my attention by yelling in my ear and snapping her fingers inches in front of my face before she finally pulled my earbuds out. "You need to turn your electronic off during takeoff," she said. Now my dad was a pilot for 30 years, and he confirmed that electronics don't interfere with communications. It is mostly a formality so that people pay attention to the emergency instructions. So I ignore her, since we are literally less than a minute from taking off. Enraged, she spams the flight attendant button so that one comes. We also had to hold takeoff until this issue was solved. The flight attendant runs over and asks what is wrong, expecting an emergency. "He won't turn off his electronics before flight. He is trying to kill us," she exclaims. Realizing everyone is staring at us when the flight attendant asks me to turn it off, I oblige. After I turn it off, she starts to lecture me about how she was right and I was wrong, rubbing how the flight attendant proved her right. So the flight is in the air, and when the intercom tells me we can use electronics, I put my earbuds in and crank it. About 5 minutes into the flight, I feel aggravated tapping on my shoulder. I turn and look at the woman. "You need to turn that down, it is bad for the baby," she said. While I was listening to the music louder than normal, it still wasn't to the point that an unborn baby would be able to hear and be able to understand. Shocked, I responded with no. But the second she reached for the flight attendant button, I said that I would. I did that trick where you turn your volume down 2 times and then up once, so that it looks like you turned it down 3 times. "Better?" I asked. "More," she responded, so I went down 1 more. And before I could put my earbuds in, she said, "It is proper etiquette to talk to people you're sitting next to." I just ignore her. I sit back and try and close my eyes. And amazingly, this worked. I fall asleep for about an hour. I was a 5-hour flight. When I woke up, this woman had her foot on my backpack with a laptop in it. So I adjust my foot so that it would be uncomfortable for her to continue to keep her feet the way they were. She immediately stood up, and I thought she was going to yell given her ability to overreact. But it turns out she was just getting up to go to the bathroom. She gets past me and her husband when a brilliant idea pops into my head. The second she steps into the bathroom, I get ready to get up and move my stuff over to the window seat. And as I grab my backpack and shift my momentum over, I feel a hand grab me. I did not take into account the husband. "You are not taking my wife's seat," he said. "Sir, I have to warn you that you are grabbing a minor, and if I feel like it at any second I could cry you that you are attacking me, or you have made sexual advances on me," I respond as he lets go and I move over to the seat I had before. When she gets back, she is furious, demanding that I move seats now to the point that the flight attendant comes over to see what is going on. And this time she sides with me. When she asks her husband to make me move, I look him dead in the eyes and he goes back to reading his book. And she sits in the middle seat, pissed as hell. Thankfully, I moved seats because she was up and down in her seat having to go to the bathroom every 15 mins. And that was pretty much the rest of the flight, except how she intercepted my bag of pretzels when the drink cart came. I responded by closing the shade to the window as we started to land at the Las Vegas airport. Once off the plane, I went to Burger King to get a drink and some food. Then I got to my next gate and find the last seat. I scarfed down my fries and burger walk across the hall, literally 10 feet from my seat to throw away my garbage. And when I turn to go back to my seat, I see the same lady now sitting in the seat I had my bag in. She had moved it to the floor right in front of her. Then she shot me this smug-ass grin, thinking she had won. Somewhat defeated by losing 2 seats to this lady, losing sleep and my patience, it was time for action. I walk over to her to gather my things, and as I got to her, I looked her dead in the eyes, raised my right hand out, fingers spread, and hovered it right over her stomach. Looked down at my hand, then back to her eyes. "I just cursed your baby," I say straight-faced, turn around 180, walk across the hall, and sit down on the floor staring at her intensely. Now I don't believe in curses, nor do I think I have the ability to place a curse, but this lady believed it. Her face was left expressionless, and she just started weeping to herself as I sat and watched. When her husband came over to see what was wrong and she told him, he instantly stormed over to me and knocked the drink out of my hand, grabbed me by the collar, and got right in my face. "Listen her, you little crap." He got out before security guards grabbed the man and detained him. The FAA doesn't mess around with who they hire. One guard asked me why this guy was angry, and I said that his wife had taken my seat, and I made a comment under my breath and he got upset with me. The officer asked for my name and identification and saw that I was a minor. He asked if I wanted to press charges and I told him yes, but that I also didn't want to miss my flight. He understood and let me go, then informed the Southwest airline gate attendant to please keep track of me in case we needed more information. This meant that I got to get on early, and I chose the first seat I could, aisle seat, to see if this lady would get on the plane. Since she was sitting in the same gate as my flight, she never got on the plane, and it takes off. Halfway through the flight attendant asked me if put a curse on the baby, and I responded with, "I don't know magic." And 20 minutes later, the flight attendant told me that unfortunately, I would not be able to press charges on them due to being a minor, but that they missed their flight, and they would have to buy a new ticket to their final destination with another airline. With 5 words, I cost this horrible woman and her abusive husband around $500. The next one is a petty revenge story. I'm a truck driver and I deliver goods to a chain of stores. Not all the managers are very nice. This time I got to deal with a total Karen for the second time. My job is to get the pallet inside the store, just across the threshold, and that's it. Most ask us to put it somewhere specific, and usually well are willing. This woman is no exception. She asked if I would put the pallets around the corner a few feet away from the door. I do this and the first gets picked up by her staff. I put the second one in that spot and a third just over the threshold because that's the only available space left. I can get 3 pallets on the hydraulic lift, so I go get another set. I get back after a few minutes and the last pallet was still there. The Karen told me she would only pick it up if I would set it around the corner, because she couldn't get to it there, a clear lie, and she's tried something like that before. It's a total power play on her part, getting me to do something she should do herself, even if it takes me 3 times longer. So I grab her pallet lift and stick it under the pallet. "See? Looks fine to me, please just work with me." And that's how the argument started. "If I don't like my job, I should go do something else," she said. I told her that if she would just work with her drivers, and not against, she wouldn't have a problem with people not wanting to do extras for her. She started name-calling and gave me the finger, and I just left everything as it was and drove off, leaving her to get the other 3 pallets from outside up the slope into the store. Didn't bother asking her to sign the papers because of obvious reasons. No one treats me like that and gets away with it. I hope I don't get into serious trouble. This happened a few hours ago and my employer has yet to read my email about it. 1010 would do it again though. The next one is a malicious compliance story. I'm a bridal consultant at a very popular bridal salon in my town. I have many years of experience and love what I do. Most of the bridal gowns in my shop are special order, meaning they must be ordered before they are made by the designer, and lead times can be anywhere from 4 weeks to 8.5 months. Not everyone knows this when they come shopping for a gown. That's the whole point of me being there. I make sure we can get the dress in time, any desired customizations or alterations are possible, and that the price is within the bride's budget. Well, when this particular bride and her mother stepped into the store, they went immediately to the racks and started ripping through the neatly hung gowns. I introduced myself, explaining that I would be their consultant for the appointment. This bride had a fairly short engagement, about 4.5 months, and I knew that only some of the gowns would be available in time. As I tried to explain to her and her mother the process, she sharply cut me off and told me to just let us shop and leave us alone. I was stunned to be spoken to so rudely. So I did as I was told. I left them alone, even when I saw them looking at dresses twice her budget that wouldn't arrive until months after her wedding. I never took any of the gowns back to a dressing room, or asked her if she'd like to actually try them on. Even after they stood by for a while, clearly waiting for me to take her back to the dressing rooms, I just continued on with my other work as if they didn't exist. Eventually, they realized that I had not intentions of acknowledging or helping them in any way, and they left without getting to try on any gowns. The owner asked me about it after they left, and I told her the whole story. She laughed and said, "Good for you." The next one is an entitled People Story. This happened today. I have German Shepherd who doesn't like strangers. I had a contractor at my house, so I had to put my dog outside. We have a fenced-in yard, but I had my dog on the tie-out because the contractor was sawing in the driveway, and my dog can see him from the gate. I heard my dog barking, so I immediately went outside to put the kibosh on it. She was barking at this stranger, an unknown woman walking through the yard inches from my fence on my neighbor's side. This woman looked at me with disgust and yelled, "You need to bring that dog inside." I said, "What? Not that it's any of your business, but I have a contractor working, so I had to put her out here in my yard." She said, "You need to put that dog in the basement then." I said, "He's working down there too." She immediately said she's calling animal control. I yelled back, "Because she's barking at you?" She said no, because it's cold and she's been out there for a half hour. My dog was out there for 15 minutes. It was 38 degrees with flurries. I wasn't even wearing a jacket and I wasn't cold at all. I yelled, "She's fine and it hasn't even been a half hour. I don't know who you are, but you're walking through here and you need to mind your own business." She again said, "I'm calling animal control." I said, "Who do you think you are? You're trespassing." She said, "I know, neighbor's name, and I live over there, which is behind us on another street. So she's totally cutting through on my side." I said, "Guess I need to talk to neighbor about your cutting through." She started walking away and yelled she was calling animal control. At this point, the contractor who was in the driveway said, "What is going on? Who's that?" And I yelled, "Some idiot." She heard me. I couldn't believe the entitlement on this idiot. I will be telling my neighbor the cutting through here ends now. Let her know, because if I see her do it again, I'm calling the cops. I also saw that she lives in the house that has a lot of loud-ass parties with DJs. I'll be calling the cops every time. I never do crap like that. I MIOB and deal with it, even though it is annoying. All bets are off now. I'm going to be a petty idiot. She messed with the wrong person. Thank you for watching. I would really appreciate it if you could like the video and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. We'll see you again tomorrow.